Welcome to Ideas All Day, a podcast where we, not experts, discuss our ideas and place them into piles, such as the good ideas pile, the bad ideas pile, and the ideas pile. Today on Ideas All Day, we are going to be discussing our ideas for video games. So let's start with Kate. What is your video game preference of choice?
My video game preference of choice. Oh,
this is the same thing right there.
This is tough. When I was a youngster, I used to watch my older brother play video games. And one of my favorite games to watch him play was Phantasy Star 2. As I got older, I realized I sucked at those types of games. So a game that I enjoy playing now, I'm gonna have to say Rock Band. That's a solid game for me. I like games that I can finish and I don't need to cheat or get helpful hints or stuff like that. So I'm going to go with Rock Band.
Okay. And thank you, Kate. Alex, what is your favorite video game?
That is a very difficult choice for me. Because I grew up playing quite a few video games. And there's quite a few that are very good. But there's always one that's always been towards the top. But it's one I always kind of might think of from time to time. More often than others. And if I had to pick one, it's gotta be a kind of not underrated, now is kind of a cult classic, but that game is called Earthbound. And it is absolutely wonderful. I would say even today still holds up. It's absolutely worth going. I just remember when I was a kid seeing it in the store and buying it merely on a whim, because the box that it came in was 3 times bigger than the others, because it came with a strategy guide, which also contained awful smelling scratch and sniff stickers that, except for the banana one, all smelled like vomit. Which, spoiler alert, kind of was the point. Because it wasn't afraid to go gross, but it wasn't afraid to break the fourth wall either. And I feel it was a game that was way ahead of its time in its creativity, and it's how it engaged with the people playing. And it kind of became a resurgence, I think 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because they actually finally came out with a sequel to it, but it only recently came to the US. So, but it never, even that one doesn't stand up to Earthbound, or as other places in the world called Mother 2 is the actual Japanese title, but US it's Earthbound. But it's absolutely a work of art and perfection that is so much fun. I wish I was playing it now.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I wish I was watching you play it now.
No. I know, me too. Let's play that.
It takes about 60 hours.
We got time.
Let's not play that.
Okay. Well, it looks beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite video games. I really did not play that many video games growing up at all. I think the one that I remember playing the most was Sonic and Tails. And I got really excited about playing that game because I had played it at my next door neighbor's house. Courtney, if you're listening. Hi.
Hi, Courtney.
And so I really like that one. The other video game that I always liked to play was in the arcade. It was X-Men. And I've always thought that one was really fun.
Hold on. Stop. No. If we're talking about arcade games, that's a whole different beast.
Okay.
I want to change my vote.
No.
It's going to be the Simpsons arcade game if we're talking about video games, But if we're talking about like all arcade-esque games, then pinball will be the Addams Family Values pinball game. And I just love skill cranes. So there, I've reorganized my favorites.
Okay.
Well, you have to reorganize it then.
And reorganize that into a different pattern.
Exactly.
So we never saw the first one. And then the third game I never really played myself, but I always was interested in playing, was called, or is still called, World of Warcraft. I always just wanted to have a character, put a character together, and then go explore a world. I don't really know. There's missions involved and stuff like that, but who knows if I'd ever get any of that done. Be trying to like poke a shopkeeper or like.
I hope you
something
like
that.
killing boars.
Who doesn't? So yeah, that's our intros for today. And Alex, how about you tell us your ideas for video games?
But what if I didn't wanna?
Oh, take that up with management.
Fine. Management.
Do your ideas. I like it.
Fine. Meh. Bleh. Wow. So I guess I'll get started. So then for my first idea, I like to call it titled Game of Our Lives. And what it is, it's a kind of live action but interactive soap opera. So it's like almost, I don't want to say choose your own adventure, but it's using live action people in a soap opera setting, but you have control over the story. And of course you have to have plenty of, evil twins, amnesia, usually some form of magic or a strange monkey creature that
Demons.
just shows up for no demons.
Like Marlena, she had a
Mhm.
demon self.
Yes.
Mhm.
Lots of fake mustaches, lots of hospital scenes for no explicit, no reason.
Ooh, eye patches.
Yes, absolutely. But I just want to have that kind of interactive drama, that is just so campy and wonderful. Just like a real soap opera, but where you can actually like control the story just a bit more. Okay, that is just absolutely wonderful. You just picking the seeds through your teeth. Whoa.
Oh, joy.
Okay. For my second idea, I always think sometimes games can be an experience. And I would love to see a game that can accurately simulate anxiety. So I want an anxiety simulator. So what it's like for someone who may be going through a panic attack or have anxious feelings and kind of have that almost internal dialogue that can happen, or that fight with oneself that you can have, where if, so you're asked to go out, you want to go out, but you don't know if you want to go out, or you have those, catastrophic tendencies, things like that. But just to give people who may not know, experience that, kind of what it's like to be in those shoes. So that was my second idea. For my third idea, I want something that's like a post-adventure game. So essentially your character in a role-playing setting is the hero, but at this point you have beaten the big baddie already. You have saved the world. You've saved the kingdom, or whatever you want to say. And what it is you start the game basically in a parade. You are the hero of the day, and you start out at literally like level 99. You're maxed out. You've got all the best gear. You've got all your buddies, and you're just going out, and you're basically starting in that town. Just, you got to leave. You're just going to go and, help with rebuilding. But as the story goes on, now that there isn't a villain, power struggles start happening where people that you trusted are afraid of you and may start doing things to kind of if they're worried you might try and take over the kingdom, the king might start kind of, maybe put a hit out on you or try and discredit you or, try and control you. So the story will follow that kind of slow progression where the hero starts losing the trust of the people, not by his own actions, but just sometimes from fear, sometimes from external players, characters within the story. And as the story progresses, you might have an injury and your level goes down, your stats go down, or you start losing access to places in the world that when you start out, you have full access to the world. You have every shop, every village, every town you have access to, but it slowly becomes harder. It slowly becomes more like you're slowly becoming the villain unintentionally. And then at the end, you would have a choice of whether you want to become the new big bad, the old adage where, either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or where the world sees you as a villain, but you're really not intending to be so. And you almost have this moral dilemma of what do you do? So that's kind of where I'm looking for that. So that was number 3. Number 4 is a horror game. I call it Attic Dweller, where you literally are a person who wakes up in someone's attic, in a house you don't recognize. You can't get through the little attic door, but you hear people underneath. There's a like a place you're sleeping, you have a little bit of food, but you're just literally in someone's house. You don't know what's going on, but there's people downstairs. You can kind of see through the floorboards that people are coming and going, that, there's a husband and wife that live there. And I kind of want it as, you have to sneak through the house at night at one point because you are able to unlock it because you got to get food, but you don't know if these people, how to get out of the house because it's always locked at night. The windows are locked and you can't open them up because they've got a massive security system and you've got to sneak around so they can't find you, but you got to get food. You need water, but as this, oh yeah, what's up?
Do they know if you're in there or do you not?
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. So you've got it. But so as the story progresses, you get little tidbit, like little diary logs that open up as the time goes on of either your character writing it or the people writing it. Like you might go into a kid's bedroom after they've gone away or they're in another room saying that, he wrote in his diary that he heard, of the voice or, people walking upstairs, but his parents don't believe him. So I want little tidbits to do it and as the game progresses, you find out that you're actually someone who snuck into the house and you're actually a killer who stalks people by basically staying in their house for a long period of time. And eventually since you're the villain, your role is essentially to kill them, or that's what the story would allude to by the end of it. But it's meant to kind of give that twist where you go from an anxiety situation to it turns out you're the bad person in the long run, but it's not meant to seem that way when you start out. But it's just kind of, you have this drive to want to stay in people's houses and then eventually kill them because you are a crazy, crazy mofo, essentially.
I am.
Mm-hmm. You are. Number 5. This is a simple one. I just want a fighting game that is literally called Lego versus Duplo. And I wanted to build your own fighting game where you build your own fighter with physics in using Lego blocks or Duplo blocks, depending on which side you're on. And you just fight. And I just kind of want to build your own fighting game. Or build your own fighting game. Number 6. Now, another game that I absolutely adored when I was growing up, almost as much as I like Earthbound, and that's a game called Theme Hospital. Now, Theme Hospital was just like kind of your own kind of office management, build your own hospital, but it was comedic. There was funny lines, funny announcers, weird diseases that you had to cure, but it was just a little fun kind of almost, I don't want to call it Sims, but like Sim City, but it's a hospital. Now, what I want to do is I want it something similar where it's a similar theme, but instead of building the hospital, you're a doctor within the hospital, where you have these same kind of comedic, joking ailments that you have to diagnose after talking with the patient, do the tests with funny contraptions and stuff like that, and then cure it, whatever it needs to be. But kind of that comedic doctor simulator in a way, or doctor RPG, but with a comedic hospital theme. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Ajax.
thank you. Yes.
Ajax.
Ajax.
Would you like to pile Alex's ideas?
Yes, gladly. All right, Alex. So for your ideas, game of our lives. I see the nod to Days of Our Lives.
You got it.
And I appreciate that. That was one of the ones that I used to watch with my mom on days off from school, along with Another World, General Hospital.
Sunset Beach?
No.
I was not we were not Sunset Beachers.
Oh no.
Loving. We used to watch Loving back in the day if you were that old. Yeah. I get where you're throwing with that. I like that. So I gave this a good idea. In the good idea pile. I love good old soap operas, and if you make them interactive, they can be pretty intense and be a good plot line. So yeah, good idea pile. For your second idea of the anxiety simulation game, are you trying to give me one now?
Why?
With your fingers?
No, just it's number 2, game idea number 2.
Number 2, the anxiety simulator. Whenever I was playing video games in the past, I would get anxiety over, I think video games do give me anxiety. So I think they already do that, at least for me. I know, whenever I was about to start a game, I get this almost rush, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I always seem to forget what all the controls do at once. So I feel like the video games, if the game could measure my anxiety level, and then rank that in a ranking of types of anxiety, maybe I could be oh, that's the kind of anxiety I'm feeling. So then I'll be that could help in the medical diagnoses of levels of anxiety. So until then, I'm going to put this in the ideas pile. Yeah, it's not, I don't see it as a good idea or a bad idea. I'll give an idea. For your third idea of the post-adventure storyline, I love this idea. At first in my head, while you were explaining it, you're going towards your character sort of going down in scale. My brain was sort of no, that's wrong. That shouldn't happen. There should always be some give and play to it too. But that's what sort of leads me to the interesting thought process behind it. So yeah, I put this in the good idea pile.
And it's interesting to bring it up, because one of the thoughts I had while making this was, if you're trying to be still a good hero, you might end up getting actually more injured, more leveled down, or having more status effects, or more of your old party leaving, versus if you did evil or questionably moral things that may make you look better, but you don't get as disadvantaged either. An ethical thing involved.
It is too, and also I just like the idea of how you're getting towards villainhood, but is it really villainhood? Is it ultimate villainhood? I don't know. For your fourth idea of the attic dweller, I felt like it was a very I think that it'd be sometimes a storyline that would be what I would remember from R.L. Stein, or a Fear Street novel.
Yeah, I accept that. I 100%. I'm okay with that.
Which I used to love.
Yeah.
So this could be a good young adult storyline, which who knows, might turn into bad fanfics and then to really good blockbuster movies or something.
It'll be the next
that.
Twilight.
Exactly. So I'll put this in the ideas pile leaning towards good because I want to see this kind of happen. For your fifth idea of Lego versus Duplo, I don't know. I've got my bets on Duplo right now. Like I feel like it's gonna be hard to take Duplo down unless it's like a really strong Lego because just the building blocks are so much smaller. You need to have some really good fortification of your Lego in order to face a Duplo. So I've already have this in my head. So this is gonna go in the good idea pile.
All right, I'll take it. But I'm thinking like you're right. Duplo's a lot stronger, but Lego's more agile because you have.
It's true.
Parts.
It's true.
So fast versus strength.
No, I agree. But like if you're also building up a Duplo too, like you could be building fortification within that as well. So it just depends on how you play the game of Lego versus Duplo. So
you can't mix Duplo and Lego. That's sacrilegious.
You just can't. They don't fit together. Legos will find a way.
Nice one,
and then for your sixth idea of Dr. RPG, is that
no Dr. Simulator? But yeah, that's
Dr.
fine.
Simulator. This sort of reminds me of this game that I was playing on Steam. That was like a doctor that you had to hold tools and then sort of do a surgery on
Surgeon
them.
Simulator.
Yeah, like with a hammer, and you'd be holding them between your pinky and your forefinger, swinging the hammer.
And you know, that's that's a good point. But it's meant to go from like diagnosis to that point too. So it's a whole gambit. But yes, I like it, but with more comical ailments is also my aim too. But exactly that kind of like comical theme, 100% nailed on the head.
I think that would be fun to add that extra little layer to that game as well. So yeah, put that in the good idea pile too.
Sweet.
And those are my pilings.
All right, Alex, let me go over your ideas.
Please don't.
Your first idea, the game of our lives. When you first said live action interaction, I was thinking of, and I know it's completely wrong, Dragon's Lair. And like really weird quick time events. I don't know why I originally thought of that, but that's what I thought of.
Okay.
But I love this idea because like video games, soap operas can sometimes be repetitive in the tasks that you have to do. So you can recycle the same like scenes and sceneries and dialogue, but still have an enjoyable time because you're so used to the format of a soap opera. So yeah, I'll put this in the good ideas pile. Anxiety simulator. This is going straight into the bad ideas pile.
What?
I don't need a simulator to figure out how anxiety feels.
It's not meant for you.
It's not meant for me.
No, it's meant for people that don't know what it's like or don't understand it.
I don't like it.
You wouldn't.
I personally don't like this idea. So I'm putting in the bad ideas pile. Your third idea, post-adventure game. I like this idea. I like this idea a lot. And I think this could also be transferred over to, instead of an adventure game, you could do like what happens after happily ever after and have like a similar situation as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's always like interesting. Like once the story ends, it doesn't really end. So I really like this idea. Definitely going in the good ideas pile. The attic dweller. I hate playing horror games. Like that. You want to talk about an anxiety simulator. That's horror games for me. However, I like watching other people play horror games. I know it's weird. I guess because I'm removed from the game, I'm not the one actually controlling the game. Therefore, I guess that gives me less anxiety. I would love to watch someone play this game. This seems really, really good. Like you have a lot of stealth missions involved. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of like puzzle solving, which two of those three things I just mentioned, I hate playing myself, but I love watching other people play. So unlike the anxiety simulator where I'm like straight up no, even though that game's not for me, I'm going to put the attic dweller in the good ideas pile. Even though I would never play it, I would love to watch someone else play it. But speaking of games I would never play, fighting game Lego versus Duplo. I would play the shit out of this game. I like this idea. Good ideas pile.
Woo!
And then your funny doctor simulator.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I would play this, and I think this is a game that wouldn't cause a lot of undue stress upon me. Just people's lives are in my hands.
Mm.
But yeah,
If you kill them, if you kill them in it,
they're not real.
literally. We'd be like, you pull a lever, they go down to shoot, and you're fine.
Yeah,
Next patient.
Sorry.
It's literally that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
we're talking here.
Yeah, so I would put this in the good ideas pile for sure. So yeah, good job, Alex. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ajax, I know that's going to be hard to follow, but do you
I
think you
know.
can follow Alex's ideas?
Well, I have to anyway because I'm the cream filling. So yeah. Well, here are my ideas. For my first idea, I guess it is a kind of an idea. I kind of wish that teachers used more video games in school to teach about different concepts. Back when I was growing up, back in the time when we had the big old DOS machines, we had like the Oregon Trail, which I mean,
best educational game ever.
I mean, I learned about so many different aspects of ways I could die or get maimed.
Who would have known dysentery without
Yes.
Oregon Trail?
Exactly.
Yep.
Like typhoid fever. I broke my leg how many times? I drowned forging rivers.
Yep. And why you can't carry more than 100 food after going hunting.
True. You learn very important concepts in that game, at least. You also learn about like floppy disks, and that's very pertinent information nowadays too. And also like I always looked forward to computer labs. I always was like, ooh, computer labs on the schedule. We're gonna play a fun game of some sort. So I just wish that even like back in our day, we had a little bit more educational lessons that through video games. It made the day more fun. My sort of on that topic as well. I was thinking like virtual history games. One such game I was thinking was Unsinking the Titanic, like a role-playing game where you can go on missions and you can figure out how to like either plug the leak or have be in the right place at the right time to make the Titanic not hit the iceberg or change course of direction. Like there's so many different ways that could have possibly been thwarted so the glacier and the Titanic did not hit. So I would like to play a game where you sort of have to unsink the Titanic. To make this more educational as well, it could be like a teacher could tailor it into more STEM education. So STEM is science, technology, education. What's E? Engineering. Mathematics. And then sometimes it's STEAM with art thrown in there. Also, it could fall along the lines of next generation science standards as well. So this could be a topical game and useful for teachers to fit into current curriculum standards. Other fun history topics of like finding King Tut's tomb or, the history of Ozzy and Sharon. There's many different, historical topics you can get into. Even another one that I thought I would really like to like kind of a nerdy area that I think I would have benefited if I learned from a video game was organic chemistry. I feel like if I really was exposed to chemical compounds and what they did through video game I think I would get that whole topic matter a whole lot easier and not have to take the course like 2 times. So yeah. So my third idea, this one, Rob actually entitled this Menial Task Simulator. A video game that can sort of make simple tasks more fun. And the way I can see this,
it's not supposed to be more fun.
Oh, Rob says it's not supposed to be more fun.
No, it's supposed to be very boring tasks that people somehow find entertainment in by using like a truck simulator. Like, why would you want to drive a truck around? Like, now you can fold laundry. You can fold laundry, level up.
So yeah, some menial tasks that we could have in our menial task simulator are driving a truck, sanding wood, chopping wood, and folding laundry are some various tasks that we...
Making lists.
Ooh, making lists. That's also another task as well. So if this...
Virtual list maker.
Thank you. And that was a cameo by Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
You might have heard that. And also, to add a little spice to this, it would need to have like an engineer in this little facet to this game, is if there could be a robot that you are operating via the video game to doing the tasks. So you could possibly getting the task done. You could possibly have a robot folding laundry by you making it do so via video controller. So if this could actually get the task done, that would be bonus points in my book. So that's an idea upon the idea for this idea. For idea number 4, it's kind of like I'm calling it the blind date simulator, where you can pick your own avatar and then you can pick your date. This can happen in many styles as of current dating apps, like the Tinder style, where you can swipe left or right. I'm sure that Plenty of Fish and Bumble all have different styles of meeting people that can be incorporated into this idea. And you can choose your own simulation dates where you can go to different places, like roller skating with your a random blind date character that's also another human playing this in the real world. Some different places that you can go on to dates are a restaurant. You can try to eat as a as a date. You can like try to order food in video game form. You can go on a movie date, so you can watch a movie too while on a date with somebody. You can go roller skating as an avatar, which I think would be kind of fun because I would probably suck and be on the ground constantly in that type of thing. Or going to a dance. Those are some things, almost like Sims in your character. Some other advanced features to this game: you can hold hands with your character. There could be character-to-character interactions, like hand touching and like playing footsies under the table of the restaurant, or just like little things like that. So it could be like little moments within the game that you can add with the characters. And also, if you like the date, you can go on other dates with this person within the game. You don't have to leave your chair or actually meet a human in real life, but you can go on a date, add this avatar with another person. So that's my idea for, I don't remember what I called it, blind date simulator. And then for my 5th idea is video games for pets. I would love to see if pets can play video games, like having Pablo, I don't know, try to eat as much hay as he can by pushing his paw on a button would be really cute. Or like having a dog, like try to find the bone, the treat under a cup that's, you know, on a screen going back and forth. He's got to find it, which one's under there. I can see this as something not necessarily an arcade where humans and dogs would go to together, because there'd be like not a lot of dog watching. I can see this as almost like a doggy daycare setting where there are already dogs all together in a room with a lot of toys, and this can just be another option for the dogs to play during doggy daycare. Doggy video games. And then for my 6th idea, it's kind of not necessarily a video game itself, but almost seeing video games as a mindset or a philosophy. And some things that I was thinking about that could fall in that line are like topics as in, you have extra lives, use them wisely. Opportunities can be perceived as bonus levels. Once you get through the boss, you get to level up. You learn cause and effect visually and almost instantaneously. So yeah, that was my sixth idea. Kind of more conceptual. And those are my ideas.
Thanks, Ajax.
You're welcome.
Let me break down your ideas. Your first idea, video game learning. Yes, good idea. I like this. I like this a lot. Got to be able to get to the kids to want to learn. This is a way they might want to learn. So yeah, I like video game learning. Good ideas pile. Your second idea, virtual history games. So there are some games out there. I'm thinking of like the Call of Duties. They have some historic instances in them.
Undertones.
Like they do World War I, World War II type of gaming.
Okay, I'll take your word for that.
I like the idea that you're learning from history. So you're not just playing history out, you're figuring out what can I learn from historical instances. So like how would we prevent the Titanic? How would we prevent World War I? How would we prevent bad things in history from happening? By also learning about history. So yeah, good ideas pile. Menial task simulator. There is a game already out there that kind of rewards you for doing menial tasks. So you put in what tasks you want to complete, and then when you complete those tasks, you get points, and with those points, you can buy baby cubs and baby dragons, and then they grow up and you got to feed them. So you got to do more tasks to feed the. It's like a Tamagotchi.
I was gonna say it sounds like a Tamagotchi.
Adult Tamagotchi inspired by you completing your menial tasks.
Wait, what game is that called?
I don't know. I played it before to get me through a hard patch at work because we were doing some really stupid shit at work. And it was just like, all right, I need some motivation to get this done. And that was the motivation. Not my current job. The robot situation, I'll give the meal task simulator an ideas pile. But once you got into the robot thing, that went in the bad ideas pile because it's like, there's just too many extra steps now. I'm trying to manipulate a robot to do the thing that I could easily do myself. So, yeah. And I don't like robots. So bad idea.
I thought it'd be fun for your friends to get together and watch the robot too, folding the laundry too.
No, that's how
like
you get pissed off robots.
Interactive.
No, you don't want pissed off robots. So yeah, bad idea. Blind date simulator. I'm gonna put this in the good ideas pile. I would like to see different dates other than dinner and a movie. You could go anywhere that your mind can go, and you want to go to a movie.
Maybe you can design your own date space.
I want to go into space. I want to have my date on the moon.
Do it. So
yeah. Yeah, good idea. Video games for pets. They kind of sort of already have this. There's certain video games that pets do like. I know like cats like certain like tablet games, and like frogs like a certain tablet game that shows flies. So I'm gonna put this in the ideas pile. And then your last idea, video games sage advice. I'm putting this in the bad ideas pile. It's not a video game. You don't have extra lives, so yeah, don't do stupid shit because you're gonna die. You don't really level up. And what bosses are you fighting?
Your own.
Yeah. My own. That's my demons.
That's your anxiety demons.
That's my demons, and they're winning. They're winning hard. But yeah, so those are my pilings.
Thanks. Alex, would you like to pile my idea?
So for your first idea of your educational video games, specifically gearing those to be used more in school, we had, like you mentioned, we had a lot of games like that growing up. I mean, not just Oregon Trail, but don't forget Carmen Sandiego. That was a great game and very educational.
Number Munchers, where you got to go and do math fast, or else you get eaten by the troggle.
Yep, I still remember one that was like you're on a winter ski kind of thing. You had to answer math questions to keep going. And I was very much addicted to that. But still, it was interesting and fun at the time. Honestly, they actually do more of that kind of stuff nowadays in a more Steam-focused way. I mean, Minecraft, which is a huge global phenomenon, has an education version. So it is actually like making its way slowly into things, but in very specific ways. So I'm going to put this one in the good ideas pile with the caveat that it is still for nerds. Even though it's a game, it's still for nerds.
Nerds.
But I'm going to put in the good ideas pile.
Yay.
For your second idea of the virtual historical games, I actually like this idea. I thought it was pretty interesting. And even with the STEAM or STEM focus, I actually really like that part even more when you're talking about like unsinking the Titanic and when you're looking at like a blueprint of the Titanic and doing the engineering side of it. That kind of stuff I find actually pretty interesting. And I would have, something to explore. So I put that one in the ideas going towards good because it is still very nerdy.
Go nerds.
Number 3, your menial task simulator. As Kate mentioned, this is an entire industry. This isn't just a couple games. This is an entire. There are companies that make millions on this idea. I mean, I own some of these games.
Ooh, like what?
I recently just bought Farming Simulator. There is a cooking simulator. I have that in 2 different versions because I have a VR version and the regular version. With some DLC. There is the trucking simulator where you literally all you do is drive trucks, park your stuff, unload, and leave. And then you drive around the US or Europe or whichever. And those are separate games, those maps. It's literally $60 to drive a truck. I mean, look at the flight simulators. Microsoft started this. I mean, that's literally what it is. And it branched out into even just the most menial tasks like cooking dinner. They haven't quite made it to the level of folding laundry, but they're working I mean, The Sims is kind of a menial task simulator, except in a different setting. So this it's already exists and is massive. The Stardew Valley Harvest Moon series. You're a farmer. You literally do the same shit every day. And I absolutely love those games. But you're doing menial tasks every day with no reward because it's just a game. So
like Farmville.
Exactly. It was Farmville. This is like you're just doing menial tasks. So it exists. And again, I love these games, but it already exists. So that's why I'm putting it in the ideas pile.
Yes.
So there's nothing new, but I do really love them. But it's not really a new item. It's just new to you.
I need to play them all.
You would probably love some of them, honestly. Like, especially the Harvest Moon games. That's what really got me hooked on that kind of stuff. I grew up on that, like, since I was a kid. So I've been playing those kind of games for like 20 plus years. But still, I digress. Number 4, your blind date simulator. I'm kind of glad you kind of branched out and having different stuff happening, like you're playing footsies. You've got, having different types of dates. I thought that was actually pretty interesting because there are games like that out there, but they don't expand on the idea as much. It's usually just here's a single date. You have your dialogue trees and you just see what happens. That's not as much fun as, you get to choose how the things go, where they go, that kind of stuff.
Wait. The blind date thing, wasn't that with another actual person? It was
as another avatar, like on the other side.
Yeah, so
like a
you're
real
like
person.
playing with another person that you don't know.
Unless you take the offline version.
Oh, I thought this was offline. I didn't know this was a real person.
You can have it and then have the same model for an online version.
Oh, if it's an online thing and there's a real person, that you can already kind of do on
I was
VR
also thinking
chat.
Offline. If you have
I thought this was just a
simulated.
game where you're simulating a blind date with a fake individual, not VR chat, which you can do already and do these things.
So like Doki Doki Literature Club.
No.
What's that?
They don't. Yeah. Well, in terms of fake people, I was gonna say, can I have a mod that lets me date my anime waifus?
Yes.
Sweet.
Only if it's Monica.
Well, that's only if it's Doki. Well, those are teenagers, so that would be no petty.
Ew.
So no, thank you.
Petty. No petty all the way.
No petty.
No beastie too.
No petty.
No. So, I mean, now that I know there's an actual person on the other end, I have to downgrade what I originally was going to put in the ideas going towards good to like idea. And that's about it. And that's like on the edge of idea going towards bad because I'm awkward enough. I don't need to be awkward with another person.
And you can get the offline version. You don't have to get the online version.
Well, that's the thing. And again, if I have a mod, then it gets knocked back up again. So I can date my anime waifus.
Oh, what? If you could get pregnant in it too.
Can I get pregnant in it?
Yeah.
Good idea, Pile.
Thank you.
I don't want to be pregnant in it.
Nope.
You don't have to
wanna,
be.
I mean, you said there was footsie, so there's the chances there.
There are options. I mean, depending on the expansion pack you get.
Wait, like how far is this gonna go? Like, is this gonna get into like the triple X kind of thing? Is this gonna turn into a totally different kind of video game?
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
So let's move on to your sixth idea. Your fifth idea. Your video game for pets. I put this in the ideas pile because I don't want to leave the animals out, but I'm kind of like not sure about it. I'm just like, will they actually get anything out of it? Really?
I don't know. Depends on if they like it and they do it.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like watching
It's an
TV.
idea.
I was about to say, like, I'll put the TV on for the cat.
Yeah.
And she'll really enjoy certain cat videos
Which
or
like
dog shows. She watches the dog show in rapt interest. Don't know why she really likes watching dogs. Weirdo.
But the difference is there's an interactivity involved with the game versus watching a show. And are they going to engage with the interactivity is really the question.
Like I was thinking, in order to get the animal to engage in it, it had to be some sort of like training to be like, this is there could be a guide, like a tested guide of like dog trainers, like how do you train or like not make a dog, but like get them to learn interactivity that will have an effect on a screen. So I don't know. This is where it would take some beta testing. And
it's not even that. It's just like whether they would get something out of it. I just wasn't sure. That's all. It's really all it is I wasn't sure. So I tried going to go in the ideas pile just because I'm not convinced yet, but I'm not saying no to it. Like cool. I would have to see some things. But last but not least, your video game mindset idea. I agree with Kate. Bad idea. It's not a video game. Also, really bad advice in general. Just don't know. It's really bad. Really bad. Unhealthy mindset. Do not do it. Throw this idea out. Cut it from this podcast. Get it out of there. And those are my pilings.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
And Kate, would you like to grace us with your ideas?
Let me do my ideas. As the world progresses, we have different means of entertainment. Back in the day, we had books and plays and operas, and then we had movies, and then we had TV series, and now video games have really taken on storytelling in a way. So you went from games like Pong to like these elaborate stories and intricate storytelling kind of games like The Last of Us, Metroid. Like, I don't know. There's a ton of games out there, Until Dawn, that are basically like another way of storytelling. So for my first idea, I thought, well, why can't we kind of convert classic literature into video games? So now you're playing Heathcliff and Wuthering Heights. You're in Chester Copperfield. You're now immersed in that world and in that story. This has kind of been done with Alice in Wonderland a few times with like Dante's Inferno, Sherlock Holmes.
Shit ton of those.
Yeah, so it would be interesting to see if we can actually just do a direct conversion from classic literature to video games. For a period of time, there was classic literature, like the Red Badge of Courage, that was converted into comic books. So it's like, just seems like the next progression in storytelling. So why don't we get the kids back in that classic literature? Because they're great, great stories. I think they would make for fabulous video games. So that was idea number one. Idea number two, video games and movies are kind of have the same problem. There's this fantasy element, even in real world telling of stories. Cars blow up after they get shot by one bullet. You get arrested in a video game. You're out the next day. You just don't have any of your guns. I want a video game that kind of has real world consequences. So if you get arrested, you have to go through the whole process of getting fingerprinted, being held, getting a lawyer, getting interviewed, going to court, going in front of a jury, getting sentenced, spending the time. The closest thing I've seen to this, sort of, is BitLife. Because, like, if you have unprotected sex, you get pregnant, have a kid, you're responsible for the kid. If you go to prison, you have to serve that term, unless if you escape or get an appeal or something. So I kind of want a video game that has actual real world consequences. So if you end up shooting someone in self-defense, you just don't get to go home free. There's other things involved. So that's idea number two, a more realistic game. You have a question? I'm sorry.
What's the point of the game if you're stuck in the judicial system?
To get out or to serve your time. So then the game becomes like a prison simulator, like how you interact with other prisoners and how do you study, jailhouse law so you can try to appeal your sentence? Or do you work on fitness? Do you work on joining a gang to get protection? Do you become a runner? So that becomes the point of the game. So overall, the whole game is like a life simulator, but just what real world actions occur from your actions, what real world consequences occur from your actions. So that's idea number two. Idea number three, video games are one of those things where you can sneakily learn things. They found, I think, Alex, you actually brought this up in a previous episode, that people who played video games that had maps actually could read maps better than those who didn't have exposure to video games that had maps. So I would like a video game that actually teaches you real world things. Like, I don't know how to do my taxes. I would love for a video game to teach me the basics on how to do my taxes. If you get pulled over by the cops, what do you do? Like, if you get into a car accident, how do you get the other person's car insurance information? How do you process a claim? Like, these are a lot of things we don't think about until they actually happen. And then we make rookie mistakes. And then we end up getting screwed because we didn't get a certain thing because we never did it before. You don't know what you don't know. So this video game would be teaching you some of these skills. So that was idea number three. Idea number four. So a while ago, there was a psychologist who was studying sociopaths. And what he was doing was he was taking brain scans of sociopaths because he believed one of the areas of the brain looked different. So what he did, and he had an idea of where in the brain this showed this sociopath tendency. So what he did was he got a bunch of people who he thought were sociopaths, scanned their brains, and then he needed a baseline, someone who wasn't sociopathic. So he took a brain scan of himself. And that's when he found out he was actually a sociopath. So this whole time, he didn't realize this about himself, but once he saw the brain scan and once he kind of put things together, he started to put together that he himself was also a sociopath. And it was like a light bulb moment. Like, it was so obvious, but he never realized it. So what I would like is, why can't we develop a video game that could also help us diagnose possible psychiatric problems? Because there's usually like questionnaires you would ask and things like that, which as an adult, you're able to answer. But I used to work with I was a behavioral health worker, and I used to work with children, and it's a little bit harder for them to understand certain concepts, and it's a little bit harder for them to express themselves. But maybe in a video game setting, if they're given between these two situations, which one would you do? Or, you can work with this character, make your character do things that you would do, and kind of use that as a diagnostic tool. So that was idea number 4. Idea number 5, Ajax kind of stole for me. I wanted to do a singles matching game where you do like an online, like the same thing, like a psychological testing, and then it matches you with other people who are similar. Because like I know like OkCupid, there's like 150 questions you can answer, and that's how they match you. I'd rather answer those questions via video game than just a questionnaire. So that's idea number 5. Last but not least, idea number 6. I want a conversation simulator, but not just any conversation simulator. I want a cringe, awkward conversation simulator. Because my problem is I get into some awkward conversations and cringy conversations, and I suck at them. I don't know how. Like someone will be like, "Oh, I just lost my pet," and I'll be like, sorry. Like it feels awkward. It'd be nice to kind of practice and have a better way of answering and interacting in those cringy conversations.
Well, you keep bringing up your fan fiction with these people during the funeral.
Yes, exactly. So I need practice not to talk about my fan fiction. So it'd be great to have this simulator, so you're used to like super awkward moments. You can internalize, like, I know I want to talk right now, but it's best if I don't. And the same thing with like, we can use the simulator also when it's about political divide. So you're at Thanksgiving, families talking about politics. Sometimes it's best not to engage. So this might be a good way to practice not engaging. I mean, we've all been there. We've all said stuff. I was called a snowflake at a McDonald's because a guy didn't want to wait for a dude to get his wallet to pay for his meal at the cash register. And he yelled at the 16-year-old register worker. And I said something like, "Dude, can't you wait a minute?" And then all of that anger he had towards the register, person working the register, the kid working the register, got directed at me. So then that was fun. I'll never forget that day because my nephew was born that day. Woo. So yeah, cringe, awkward conversation simulator to practice those awkward, cringy conversations. And those were my ideas. Alex, you wanna get this over with? You wanna just rip off that Band-Aid?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. All right. But before we do that, we're gonna start with your first idea, which is your classic literature video games. I actually really like this idea. There's some really good ones out there that give you an interactive experience with classic literature. Some exist, not a huge amount, but I think there's a lot of potential with that. Especially with the old detective stories, whether Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, those kind of things. They're already good stories, but to get those some crisp visuals and even like alternate storytelling versions of it, I have no issue with that. I think it's a good idea. So it's going in the good ideas pile.
I would play the shit out of and then there were none video game.
Yeah. Now it's your next idea, number 2. Having real world style consequences to your actions in a video game. I'm very much conflicted on this because I actually think this is not a bad thing because it makes you really double check any actions you take and any risks you take in a game because of the consequences you make that are not just, like you said, you don't just lose items or lose experience or gold or whatever, but you lose time, your own time in real life, which if anything, that's the biggest thing. So it makes every action you take, everything you do, that much more important. So I put this in ideas going towards good because I think the idea behind it and like really putting consequences behind your actions is actually really cool. The problem is, again, will it translate well? I'm not sure. But I think that the added risk behind it and the consequences behind it, I really like that. I think that's pretty cool. So ideas going towards good on that one. Then your second one, your life lesson teaching game, I guess, in a way, but it kind of feels so much like the second idea in a different sense, because you have real life consequences for your negative or even potentially positive actions. This is just kind of a different avenue of the same thing. You know, if you get into a car accident, it may not be your fault. It may be your fault, but you've got to still know the tasks. But that's a real world consequence to actions that are taken.
So for idea number 2, the real world consequences, that's like a linear game.
Yeah.
There's a start and you go forward and you progress. Whereas the real world skills game is kind of like vignettes. So it's not like you're driving to get to a destination, then you get into a car accident. Now you got to deal with how to do car insurance stuff. It's purposeful, like learning tools.
Oh, okay.
Like you are engaging in that vignette because you want to learn more about like, all right, what do I do when I get into a car accident? Compared to like, I'm on a mission to get to my sister's house because I have to dog sit. And then, I got into a car accident. Now this quest that I was on is now on hold because now I have to do the side quest of car insurance.
Gotcha. Okay. So in that situation, I'm going to put ideas going towards bad because although it has a functionality to it, it sounds kind of boring versus other senses where if you, like the other one, I have to put this idea as going toward bad because it's educational in a way that doesn't seem fun. It's like taking the menial task and then putting an educational spin on it, which totally ruins it for me. But there is some learning and functionality that you can get out of it that's good, which is why it's not going in the bad ideas pile.
It would be literally like the WikiHow video game. So then I mean, there's going to be some boring stuff like how to grow your daffodils, but there's also like exciting stuff like how to escape a burning building. So
then I could just go to WikiHow.
But you can't play that game.
True. But I'm just going to go to WikiHow if that's the case. So again, ideas going towards bad for me. Then your fourth idea, your psychological diagnosis game.
Tool.
Sure. Well, we're talking about video games, not tools. But still, it's meant to be a tool in game format. Again, I'm still going to call it a game because it's still the tool is a game. If it's not a game, then it's going to get then it's not a game, and then it's completely tossed out. So the concept of this is really interesting, as like the need of it, making it gamifying a tool that exists to a degree, with questionnaires or interview selections, things like that. So the concept is really interesting. However, going through the lens of a video game, I don't think it would work because typically when people are playing a game, even though this is meant to be a tool in game format, especially when you're talking with kids or even adults, sometimes if you give them free rein to see how they would act naturally, they're not going to act naturally. Sometimes people just want to be the hero and sometimes they want to be the asshole, even if that's not what they normally do.
So like Grand Theft Auto.
Exactly. But that's not who you are in reality, we assume. But that's what I mean. It's like the choices you make in a game are because the consequences aren't there, but it's not meant to be how you would really do it. So again, I don't see the value of the tool. The concept is there. I think the concept is interesting. I just don't see how the game itself, even as a tool, would work properly because you can never really tell versus just measuring their own actions that they took at the time. I think that's a better indicator, which unfortunately is more boring, but probably more accurate. So I'm going to have to put this one in the bad ideas pile just because I don't think in a realistic setting it would do the job you're looking for this to do. Number 5, your singles matching game. Since I gave an ideas going towards good for Ajax's, I'm just going to give an ideas for you because you didn't elaborate at all on it. I'm just being nice.
So it's like almost like the psychological
Yeah.
diagnostic tool
Yeah, exactly.
where it like gets your personality types
Yeah.
and it
But-
matches you with local singles.
Yeah. Which you could just do that on things like, OK Cupid, eHarmony, who
Yeah,
do
but who
all
wants
those
to do
things
a
anyway.
questionnaire?
But you're
It's
asking them to
stupid.
do a questionnaire in the game.
No, but like you get scenarios and how your character
Yeah,
reacts to those
yeah.
scenarios instead of saying like, "Oh, I like to kick puppies," yes or no.
Yes. And
Well, we won't go there.
yeah, exactly. Because,
And
again,
you wonder why I'm single.
but still, I still think it goes in the ideas pile because if you're looking to do this as a tool, just do eHarmony, do your OK Cubids, take your test, be honest, and just do that. It's boring, but you're better off doing that. For this, if you're doing it as the game, it could be fun, but still, I don't see as much of a fun value in it in the current way it's done. Sorry, I am not taking it back. And then for your last idea, your awkward conversation simulator or your tool to better learn how to deal with awkward situations. I was kind of like interested in it, but then super cringy, just super cringy. So let's go in the bad ideas pile for me, just straight in the bad ideas pile. And those are my pilings.
Thanks, Alex. Ajax, how about you? Can you pile these wonderful ideas that Alex just doesn't understand?
I'll try. So, Kate, for your first idea of the storytelling game where you're converting classical literature into a video game, if I was to play this, would there be the opportunity to explore the world that they're in?
Yes.
Because those are usually my favorite parts of the video games, is to like, what does the toilet look like? What's in this corner over here? What's hiding under this bed? Like, is there gonna be like search and find objects or like missions?
Yeah, there could be like side quests to it. That's fine.
Okay, because I like those type of activities too. To like find the thing in the room. Sort of like
See,
how I like my escape rooms.
me and you have to play video games together because I absolutely hate that part. Like
I
that's
those
like
parts.
that's like the worst part, having to like seek and find.
No, I want those in my
bottles.
video games. Yeah, I'll find those. So yeah, if we can do that in this video game, I will put in the good ideas pile because I enjoy those activities. So your second idea of video gaming with real life consequences. I feel like it could happen. It would just needs there's a lot of scene changes involved in this. If you're like constantly, I don't know. I feel like it's okay. I'll put in the ideas pile right now. I have to see it to understand it a little bit better.
Imagine the real world
All right, there, got it.
in a video game.
All right, so I'd be sitting here in a video game writing in my journal.
Yes. And then if you didn't finish the podcast in time, the consequence would be we would lose listenership because we couldn't get the episode out in time. Everybody's waiting for the season 2 season finale episode to drop. But unfortunately, Ajax couldn't do what she needed to do. So the real world consequences are we lose listenerships, and then your co-hosts start to despise you for dropping the ball in this wonderful, excellent podcast.
All right, I'll still put in the ideas pile right there. That's a lot that's happening. So it's like real life. And I feel like real life is coming at you really fast like that. And a lot of things can happen. So it might give me a little bit of anxiety. So I'm going to put in the ideas pile. You like these anxiety reduced in games. For your third idea of the video game teaching you real world things, which I agree with because I have an educational idea video game as well. I kind of see these games not necessarily for the general public, but for maybe like training purposes for different professions of sorts, which you can learn through video game play. I'll put in the ideas pile leaning towards good. The brain scan sociopath video game. Sure. I mean, I guess I gotta see it to understand it. So I'll put in the ideas pile.
You know, we're not actually like scanning your brain in the video game.
I know, but you're learning about it through the actions that I take in the video game.
Have you ever played like a Telltale game?
Like Telltale Heart.
No, like
That's classical literature game.
A Wolf Among Us. There was a Batman version, Walking Dead. You have like 3 or 4 choices, and how you answer leads to like your outcome in the game. So it's like you have 3 or 4 choices, and the answers and the outcome would lead to a diagnosis. So there was something like this, and it wasn't like it didn't give you a diagnosis, but like Silent Hill had a game where you kind of took a personality test, and then those items would appear in the game. So if you said you were like afraid of clowns, more clowns would appear. The longer you stared at something, you would see that more often. That would chase you more, or things like that. And then in Until Dawn, same
The game
thing.
has kind of made me think of the game of Clue, and I would
It's
play
nothing
a
like
video
Clue.
game of the game of Clue.
There is a video game version of Clue.
I would play that. I mean, if it's like Clue, I
Yeah,
would play it like that. I would play this game.
it's nothing like Clue.
I feel like I'm not a psychologist or had any type of psychology study, so it's just hard for me.
So
If I was going to use this in order to help me learn about these psychological things for the purposes of learning them for my job or learning to find out for interesting topic matter, then sure, I'll play it. Then
that'd be
I'll
more
put
like a
ideas for
personality
playing
test.
for good.
That'd be like a personality test, finding out if you're an INFP or things like that. This is more so do you know like the trolley paradox?
This is topic matter that I do not understand.
Okay.
So if I was interested in it, if I could use it in order to learn more about this topic matter, then I'll use the ideas first. Good.
so
I
the-
just
let me
I just
explain.
don't know. I just don't know what these things are.
So let me explain the trolley paradox. So you were watching a trolley come down the track. However, there's 5 workers on the track that don't see the trolley. You can prevent the trolley from hitting those 5 people by redirecting the track through a lever. But if you redirect the lever, it's going to hit one person on the other track. So do you decide to hit the 5 people, the 5 workers on the track, or do you hit the one person on the track?
I choose to do the 5 Ds: dip, dodge, duck, dodge, and dodge.
That's not it. You did the 5 Ds wrong.
Can I like, have them hit the one person, then back up and then go back over the other 5?
Mhm.
Double, and like make them run over like.
So in the game, you would
Squish
like
'em.
have your character would face these kinds of questions. And then based on these answers would help the psychologist determine like what kind of behavioral patterns you have, what kind of decision making, how you view life, how you view other things, like what you consider important, what you don't. So that's the whole game, is you have a character and you're left with these choices. How you solve or which choice you pick will determine like, okay, this person is selfish, or this person's altruistic, or this person is coughing.
Would I be labeled as this type of diagnostic afterwards,
No.
or would you just find out what this choice has? It would categorize you as this.
So after the game, it's going to give the psychologist an idea of where they should look. So if you're coming back with a lot of depressed answers, that's a good place to look. Like, okay, maybe this person is depressed compared to like, this person is anxious, or this person's, psychotic, or this person's a sociopath. Like it gives them an area to like kind of circle in on. Compared to starting from like anything could be your diagnosis. We have no idea what your problem is. So it kind of funnels down and gives a scope of area for the psychologist to explore, so to speak.
I don't know how I feel about this now, because then somebody's judging me how I played a video game.
Yep, I'm judging. I judge
and
people all the time for how
I
they
don't
play
like
video
that.
games.
I don't want to be
PewDiePie,
judged.
I'm
I do
calling
this
you out.
when I move the video game controller when I play the video game. If I'm running, I'll move the video controller super fast. What would the psychologist say to that?
You're crazy.
Nothing, because it doesn't affect the gameplay.
You're crazy.
Are they taking those things into account, though, to order to give you a better idea of what the psychological diagnosis is?
It's not how you play. It's how you play the game, but it's not the method that you play the game. So how
I feel
you
like that should be taken into account, as if the method that you're
Not
playing the game as
really.
well.
because I'm a horrible gamer. So like I'm not going to be as quick or nimble as someone who's a gamer who plays every day.
I don't know about that. I feel like we got to work out the kinks to this one. Ideas, at least. Possibly lean to till good if the kinks are worked out.
So you're talking about some gaming kinks now?
Yes.
You're like an episode too late.
Never too late for kinks.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
It's never too late for kinks. And then for your fifth idea of singles matching game, I just keep on thinking about Singled Out. I don't know why. Jenny McCarthy and Chad or Chris Hardwick. Chris Hardwick. I don't know why that came to mind, but that was the first thing that came to mind. And I like that show. So this is a good idea pile. And then for your sixth idea of the conversation simulator, I thought this was sort of like your first 2 and 3 ideas. They're very like real life scenario-esque ideas.
But specifically cringy and awkward.
I don't know if I would play it. Like, I don't know if I would want to play it. Like, you would have to make me play this.
I usually do every day in our friendship.
So it's just like every day.
For us, basically.
All
yes.
right. So, I mean, it's a good idea then. If it's just like every day, it's fine. And those are my pilings.
Thanks, Ajax.
You're welcome.
Listeners, if you have a chance to listen to a song to go along with this podcast, I highly recommend the song Video Games by Lana Del Rey. And there's an excellent cover done by Trixie Mattel. So go out there and listen to those songs. I'll try to link it below. We couldn't use the songs because of licensing. But yeah, it's about video games. And listeners, if you want to tell us your favorite video games, leave it in the comments. If you're not a gamer, there are so many games out there for all different kinds of folks and strokes. And there's bound to be a game out there that you will enjoy. But yeah, video games. Good times. Well, we should thank our listeners last time for season 2 before we go on our between season break. Maybe we'll do something fun on break. I don't know. There's always so much more content to find. But yeah, if you have any ideas for next season, or if there's something you want to see us do, if you know anybody who wants to be on Ideas All Day, please shoot us an email at ideasallday.podcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Stitcher, Anchor. We have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel with playlists now. We are on Instagram at Ideas All Day Podcast. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for playing
games.
But yeah, thanks for listening. See you at season 3.
Bye, season 2.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.